guys, how goes it? Just want to talk to you about making another memory deck swap. This one, as you might guess from the products assembled on the right here, is a Stampin' Up! Sponsored one from my friend Brian from BDCraftsMore. So I pulled some of this. I don't know if this pattern paper still exists or if it was discontinued. They're just in the process of swapping out their catalog for whatever next year. This year? I don't know. 2023. Um, but this is from the By the Bay pad that I actually got this free during one of their sales. Um, and then I also have some navy, which I picked up from them, which, like all their stuff, like perfectly matches, if that's your thing. I don't know. I kind of go back and forth if I like perfect matching or whatnot. But, when people have preferences in swaps, I always try to follow them. And I picked up some, and I had some embellishments, and I think this color on the end that's sort of like, I don't know, a very a light translucent blue would work well. And I also had this die from Scrappy Boy that does a cutout for it's a memory deck that does a film cutout. And I think this back piece punches out I don't think it cuts through in the center portion, which would be awesome if that was the case. Because I was thinking I could punch one out of this pattern paper and then one out of some like heavyweight white cardstock to give this a little bit of backbone, essentially. Then on this side, then I could basically, so you'd see this pattern paper kind of in this segment here, and then you could punch this out of the navy and have a film strip. And I could also punch this out of white if I want to have like an inset piece, because I'm thinking I might leave the sides open and then use this big wave, which I should know the name of this painting, but it reminds me a lot of the famous Japanese painting, Kenji's Wave. It's something like that. Let me actually Google it quickly, so I don't sound completely illiterate for 5 minutes. Okay, well, I was wrong, so go me. It is the Great Wave. And I won't butcher the last name on this, but the painting is called the Great Wave if you want to see it, but it is not it's not an exact copy, but it's got the same idea. And so I think like using this as a focal point would be pretty cool, and then we could use one of the sentiments on the back, and then I can use my mark as well, just to show that it's for me. But I think this, I don't know, like the last, well, you may or may not have seen the last memory decks I did, depending on or I should say the last ATC I did, but I don't know, I've been doing a lot more die cutting lately. So anyway, I am going to die cut some stuff, and then we will be back to assemble. I'm curious to see how big of a pain this is to weed, but we'll see. Hopefully it will be awesome. Guys, I am back and I finished die cutting. And I have to say, I didn't have to weed this die at all. All the pieces stayed stuck to my Magic Mat, uh, which you can is a scrapbook.com product. I'm not sponsored by them or anything, but it works pretty well. And the neat thing is, and so then I also cut out of white the centerpiece, because that's where I want to put my focal image. And then out of the By the Bay paper, I actually had to switch papers because I cut this backwards. As you can see, I wanted the registration marks at the top here to line up. And those line up with the film, essentially. So what we're going to have when we're done is focal image there. We're going to leave the sides as is. And then we have this whole back that we can stamp on, basically. And I'm going to put a sentiment and then my personal stamp there. But the first thing I wanted to do is put a wave on this guy. And I'm going to grab something I don't do much, which is actually tape this down so I can use Well, I may not need to. I may be able to get away with using just the magnet on top, because I don't think this extreme top edge I'm going to do anything with. So I think that will be okay. Then, of course, I pulled the foam out of my MISTI because these particular stamps are red rubber stamps, and they're also brand new, but they're red rubber stamps, so they don't need that as much. Um, I really want sort of this central wave piece. As you can see, like, this is what it looks like, but I really want sort of this center of the wave here. And this is going to hang off a little bit, but I don't think it's really going to matter. We don't really need to ink that up at all. And I was able to pick this guy up. I'm going to use I'll use my favorite ink color. I think this will be a nice contrast. There's a lot of teal in this, but there's also going to be a lot of navy, so I don't think we really need more navy. And I'm just really inking up sort of the top part here. I'm probably going to get some over inking, but not really over inking, but you know what I mean. And we'll see how this stamps. I don't need to ink the side piece at all. And what do we have? That's pretty good. You need to do a few more coats, obviously. And this being a new stamp doesn't help that much. But we can do a few different printings of this. There we go. Just going to do this far edge again. I think we're almost there. We're not really going for like... I'm just pushing down relatively firmly just because this other side is in the way. And I think we're good with this guy. I kind of like how that turned out. We will put this away here, and let's see what sentiments we have. You're so totally awesome. I like that one. I'm going to pop this guy out because I'm going to need that sooner rather than later. I may or may not do the same ink color. I don't know. I'm kind of thinking the same ink color might be kind of nice. Let me just clean this off. My other new favorite products, the Ink on 3 Ink Off. I really like how it's like in an ink pad, so it's really easy to use. Anyway, so if we go and grab this piece, flip it over basically because it'll wind up being inverted. I'll probably put my mark at the bottom, so we really kind of want to just sort of center this guy. If I can get there we go. Probably some magical and per my usual, I'm just gonna eyeball this. This is centered pretty well on the MISTI because it makes life easy with like that. This I think I will actually use the navy. The one nice thing about using these red rubber stamps is like you're not gonna get. And where is my stamp tool? Oh, here we go. So if you actually use a stamp tool, this will help this as well because you won't overpress part of it. And this stamped perfectly the first time. Hooray! Thank you, Artful Angel Stamp Tool, who has come through again. I really want to get another one of these magnets because they're super handy, but sometimes you really want to. Anyway, next time I order something, I think that will be on my list. And I don't know if this Wave of Inspiration stamp set is still around. Again, my timing on this is a little not great because it's sort of the time all Stampin' Up! redoes all their products. But I think that is all the stamping we need. So we are just basically going to glue all this stuff together. I think before that, I will come in with some black. And this is a new stamp I actually got off of Etsy just for me and my stuff. And there we go. I forget who I was talking to. One of the crafty folks who's been around for a while, I think, had said, like, really marking your work is great because then, you know, if someone gets it and doesn't remember where they got it from, they always can find you pretty easily. So anyway, I am going to glue these together, and then we'll see if we want to embellish it or not. We probably will, but can you get my new favorite thing, which is, see, this cap actually has a pin in it, so the glue in here doesn't get all jacked up overnight. The other thing Karen Burniston, who makes these, suggested is that if you want to use it fairly regularly, what you can basically do is just take a cup, get some wet paper towels, and like put it tipped down, and the wetness of the paper towel will basically keep it from drying out. So if you're crafting pretty frequently, that may be a thing that will help you out. So I'm just going to get these most of the way lined up, and the nice thing about this die is because of those registration marks, it is pretty easy. You can grab a squeegee, but you could use anything you want, and basically just making sure that glue is well adhered, because it'll be a lot easier to do now than later. Registration marks are lined up. This is pretty on center. The cut came out a little differently, just because one of these is paper and the other is cardstock. I think the next piece, yeah, I'm going to line up the actual film. This is the only piece that's probably a little trickier to glue just because there's so many fine details. But I mean, I don't think you really have to worry about the individual parts of the film as much as any of these sort of very thin pieces are probably worth making sure that we're getting. And we're going to squeegee this down. And I've showed you before, there's some tricks you can use too if you wind up not really getting things quite the way you want. So basically, the easiest way to do this is to line up the registration marks. We do have some working time with this glue. And then just push it down. And you really want to make sure the fine pieces are adhered. I just got a little extra glue on my hand, so I'm just rubbing that over. Didn't mention, this is the glue I always use, but I don't think I have any links to it down below. But if you're interested, let me know. But it's pretty easy to find. It's this Lenco pH neutral adhesive. It's actually a bookbinding glue, but I use it for almost everything. And then basically we're just going to inset this piece, which is going to be super straightforward. Because this is just, yeah. I mean, since this is inset, it's not too tricky. And I think that looks pretty cool. I do like the sides being open. Of course, I had navy cutouts and white cutouts, so you could have done something else. But I really like the metallic on this pattern paper, so I wanted it to kind of remain as metallic. And then we have our sentiment on the back, and we are pretty much good to go. I'm thinking I might like to use, I think I want to use a single one of these. Or maybe I'll do my traditional sort of 3-item cluster here. So I'll just do something in the corner. Just to add a little bling. What do we think? Maybe here? Yeah, I like that. Just a little blingy corner. What are these things called? Oh, these are just called glossy dots, but I actually also really like, and you might have seen them in another video recently, but the cat scrappiness ones, I like the slightly larger size, but really it depends on you and your card making and like what you like. And I want to say it's Jennifer McGuire had the great tip that if you just cut off the adhesive strip on those packages, or any kind of package, you can reuse it. But here is the Memory Dex card, and for the fun swap, we have sort of a summer ocean theme going on, and then on the back it says, "You are totally awesome," because you guys sure are. So if this is interesting to you, let me know. I have been really liking making Memory Dex cards lately. Um, I don't know if you can see that well. There we go. Uh, Sorry about that. For some reason, the lighting right now is like washing this out a lot, but this is what it looks like in real life. Anyway, thanks much, and talk to you guys later.